I wonder why morality is such an interesting part of it. Because, so first of all, social media is very unique in which it'll find all participants worthy of anger in its quest to engage most people, right? So it
Right.
literally searches for people with specific emotions to maximize engagement. But then, anytime I see this anger, and it could be from whatever political side, it could be from whichever ideological background, it always garbs itself in morality. That there is a higher morality and you have somehow betrayed it and you are not part of it. And I need to point out that you are lower morality and this is the standard morality, or else it doesn't work. Where is the principle of morality playing into evolution, and how important is morality in evolution?
Yeah. Wow. So a couple of ways to answer this. First, one thing that upsets me greatly is when, and not that you've done this, but will often happen, is when people are usually arguing for the unique insights of religion as compared to science. They usually will invoke the morality argument to explain why religion is so important. They say if it isn't through some divine source that we get our morality, then how do you know what's right or wrong? Complete nonsense, because there are very clear evolutionary arguments, which I won't necessarily get into now. There are very clear evolutionary arguments, many books written, many articles written, scientific articles explaining why the moral sense would have evolved in a social species like human beings. So it's not in the least bit mysterious how you would explain morality from an evolutionary perspective. But to your more specific pointed question, and here I keep joking about this, but I'm being truthful. I have so often in the recent past uh, plugged this particular book that I'm now thinking that I need to write to those two authors to tell them that I deserve some of their book royalties, how many times I've plugged it. And I'm going to now plug it again. There's a book by two French psychologists called Dan Sperber and Hugo Mercier. The book is titled The Enigma of Reason. And they basically argued in the book that we haven't evolved the capacity to reason in the quest of some objective truth, but rather to win arguments. Now, that already is quite a pessimistic perspective to someone who tries to develop a mind vaccine so that people can actually navigate the truth. Because the reality is, most people go, la, 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 I don't want to hear it. My tribe is right, and therefore my tribe is right, and no amount of evidence that you could ever offer me, Professor Saad, is ever going to move me from my anchored position. So now how do we link that to morality? One of the ways I ensure that my tribe is always right is to invoke a moral justification for my position, right? Now, that could be totally false and could be incorrect, but if I can put the weight of morality on my side, that makes it that much easier for me to win the argument. And I hate to say this, not to turn it political, the left is much more likely to do this than the right. Not that the right doesn't commit its own cognitive and emotional biases, but when it comes to invoking morality to justify my position, the left does it more. There's the old, I'm going to botch the saying now, but the left usually says about the right that they are morally degenerate, right? That's why we have to violently respond to them, because they are literally Hitler. Whereas the right simply says, hey, I think your position is wrong. Now let's have dinner together. So morality could be usurped so that it allows me to win arguments.
To your point about religion and morality, there is a singular piece from a debate between Jordan Peterson and Slavoj Žižek that settled this debate for me, right? And Jordan said something about it is in the presence of God that nothing is permissible, in the sense of bad things. And then Slavoj said, no, it is exactly in the presence of God that everything is permissible. Take, for instance, 9/11. And, you just mic drop. Like, morality is put into question at that point. But it's also very interesting, the left and right comparison. The left likes to virtue signal, and we see the metastatic left likes to virtue signal. And the metastatic right is beginning to vice signal. And you see how openly they're owning their racism and how openly they're owning, for instance, their discrimination against the other tribe. And so you see this metastatic political behavior on both sides. And it's very interesting.